So this is a visual knowledge video on 7 tips for dyspraxia. So let's go straight in. Tip number 1, understand your condition. Dyspraxia for me is mainly a processing and memory issue. So by understanding the problem, I can identify various ways to tackle it. So I could improve my diet to improve my processing and memory. That makes sense. And I can ensure to get enough sleep because there is a relationship between memory and sleep. So if you understand your neurodiversity, you can make it work for you. Tip number 2, minimize decision fatigue. Decision fatigue may be one of the biggest enemies of dyspraxia. We make 200 thoughts a day just on food. Overall, we have 6,200 thoughts a day. So here is a tip to have less options. So fewer clothes means you have less time to develop decision fatigue on what to wear. And decision fatigue on food can be reduced if you have the same meals every week. Now when I go to the shop, I buy red trainers, so there is no decision fatigue in selecting a colour. Apply this principle and believe me, life gets easier. Tip number 3, be solution focused. Let's imagine you're taking a test on Shakespeare. Now if you focus on the problem, you might say, I'm doing an exam on Shakespeare and I don't know nothing about Shakespeare. But if you're being solution focused, you're reading Shakespeare, you're reading Macbeth, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, etc. By focusing on the solution, you're giving yourself every chance to pass that Shakespeare test. Question: how do you learn to drive? In my opinion, if you want to learn to drive, you need to start taking driving lessons. And I say that to say this: focus on the solution as opposed to the problem. Focus on the solution as opposed to the problem. Tip number 4, have a shopping list. Dyspraxia for me is a lot of confusion, and no shopping list, well, that adds to the confusion. If you don't have a list, you don't have a plan, and if you don't have a plan, well, you plan to fail. I mean, what did I forget this time? The milk? The toilet paper? You get the picture. Have a shopping list to counter memory issues and buy what you need as opposed to what you want, because there is a difference. Tip number 5, strive to be happy. Dyspraxia can compromise your happiness. Your happiness is important. It is probably more important than money. Find or discover what makes you happy, whether it's going for walks, having meaningful relationships, listening to the birds, helping others, going to the cinema, etc. Find your happy. When you go into the sports shop, there are different shoes, and each person likes different shoes. Find your shoes, meaning find your happy. To put another way, find your happy shoes and wear them with confidence. Tip number 6, learn about social intelligence. Now, it's important to understand human beings. It's also more important to learn how to socialize effectively with human beings. If you disagree with that premise, then I think we may have a problem. But if you agree with that premise and you're having issues in this area, then how about consider reading something like How to Win Friends and Influence People? Here are some 3 tips from that book, which is a good starting point. Be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves, and don't criticize, condemn, or complain. So if you're talking to Laura, encourage her to talk. Ask her about her interests, and don't criticize or condemn her way of thinking. Also, here's a 4th tip. Add giving Laura honest appreciation. Tip number 7, have a gratitude list. This is the last tip. Now you may feel that dyspraxia is compromising your ability to progress. If so, use a gratitude list. Now a gratitude list can look like the following: I'm grateful for my health, friends, a loving family, a place to reside, a job, music, food, laughter, etc. So I would probably recommend take some time out and formulate your own personal gratitude list. For me, a gratitude list is a way of consciously accepting the good things in life. We take so much for granted, and a gratitude list can build that foundation of gratitude. When we let go of gratitude, we welcome the cousin of resentment, and believe me, he is a very unwelcomed visitor. So that's my 7 tips for dyspraxia. Let me know what you think. And let's just recap the list before we go. So number 1 was understand your condition. Number 2 was to minimize decision fatigue. Number 3 was to be solution focused. Number 4 was to have a shopping list. Number 5, strive to be happy. Number 6, learn about social intelligence. And finally, number 7, have a gratitude list. Now, if you enjoyed this content, then why not check out my playlist? Just click the link to the left or right and enjoy.